All right, Breon Rollins here. We just wrapped the Black Men Buy Houses Atlanta event. And of course, we had to get Mr. Russell to join us for the conversation because we are at the Russell Innovation Center. So, Brother Kevin, if you don't mind doing an introduction to our esteemed guest today before we jump in.
So we are here literally at the ground epicenter of not only Black excellence, Black wealth building, Black incubation for business here at the Russell Center in Atlanta. And we have Mr. Herman J. Russell the second, right?
I go by H.
H.
Jerome Russell
H. J.
Jr.
Yeah. There we
But
go.
I am Herman Jerome Russell Jr. That's what my birth certificate.
There we go. There we go. So that leads into the
Mhm.
second and the third. But thank you so much for not only gracing us here in the podcast studio, but also gracing us on the stage, which are years of wisdom and really um, just changing the game and understanding how to build that 100-year blueprint of wealth.
Yes.
So from your perspective, how do you feel like the event went today? And again, thank you for sharing some of the gems that you, your son, as well as your son-in-law did for the panel today.
I thought it was phenomenal. I remember last year, and maybe it wasn't as engaged as I was this year, but this year, having my son and my son in law on the panel with me was special, and hearing what they said and the consistency of it with our values was really, really very inspiring.
Yeah, and one of the things that I noticed because I moderated that conversation is that there was a theme that went from you to Russ to now Deontay, and that theme was that family is first, and we're building this business as a family. So was that something that you, again, we talked about it on stage, but for the podcast audience, was that ingrained in you from your father? I know you made a joke. You said, "Well, Dad, he made the decisions." But now that we've started to change it, we've included and involved more individuals in that decision making process. How does that look for you all moving forward?
We're working through it. I mean, to go from G1 to G2 is a process because my father he laid the blueprint, and he's the way you get to a tax-free estate, you have to lock things up in these trusts, and the trust can be rigid.
Yeah,
So decision making becomes we all have to be in really unanimous to move things forward.
Mm.
So it forces us to we have to have mediums of communication. We have to meet frequently. We have to understand what's going on in all of the businesses because we're really the operating verticals are real estate, airport concessions, construction, services. They all are different businesses. So the family office, which we established 3 years ago, has been a big help to
yeah,
that.
definitely.
But even that has been, nothing is just going to be perfect. Nothing goes like you think it's going to go. So we've had to make adjustments in that also.
Definitely. Now, Kevin, you alluded before we got on that during that panel, you were a participant. While you put all this together, during that conversation, you were a participant. Tell us why you were soaking up some game during that conversation.
You know, it's funny because we were gonna come in here record some content, and right before you went on stage, it was like I gotta go up to the stage and listen to just soak up that game. But honestly, it's to learn because the things that we're trying to put in place now in our business and in our family are the kind of building blocks that you guys now as G it's G1, G2,
Yes,
G3.
right.
G2 is taking that blueprint and then taking it and implementing it. So I'm soaking up even the things that you're saying now because we got a stack of trusts at my house where we've put all these instruments in place that don't even take effect until we die. So I don't know what that would look like, right? So now I'm understanding, okay, you might be creating a new set of problems that you can't see. And my question, and I didn't get to ask it on the panel, was
There we go.
where does it go, right? Like when I think about the verticals that you guys are already in, what are the future iterations? And Russ said it on the panel, and I really think that he did a good job of articulating it, that it has to be in line with the family values and it has to be in line with where you want to take it. But when you look at the future, where would you like to see it go with technology and the industries that you're already in? Is there some budding, emerging thing that hey, I want y'all to take the ball and run this way, or you'd like to see as it's implemented?
Well, we never used outside capital. My father never used private equity. We used bank debt, but to go to where we need to go is going to require a little bit more than bank debt. It's going to have to require partnerships in areas that we haven't ventured into. Also, it gets down to, if you're going to grow some of these businesses, if we just use debt, there's a limit in our growth, right? Because it is just it is. Um, so just trying to find that balance with these, you know, um, let's take the airport concessions. Um, we have a North Star. We know where we kind of want to get to, but then what happens after that? So those are questions. Do we leverage private equity? Do we sell and maybe go into something else? Um, one of the things we did in 22 is we sold about 1,000 units of HUD property.
Mm.
But what that did, it allowed us to do some things we needed to do with our foundation. Because when my father put the instruments together, a big part of it was a foundation he had set up. But when he passed, a lot of it was illiquid.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, and if a foundation, it was called the Charitable Lead Annuity Trust, if it's illiquid, you can't do those 5% distributions. So we had to figure out a way to create liquidity in there, and we just happened to catch the market at the right time, and we was able to sell a lot of those properties, which we weren't giving us the return we wanted. So we sold it, and it worked out. But we could have been in an environment where we maybe could not have sold those properties,
Definitely.
and maybe I don't know if we'd be sitting here right now.
Mm.
Yeah, so it sounds like,
Mm-hmm.
and I talk to Kevin a lot. So he and I,
Mm-hmm.
we have dialogues about our various businesses,
Mm.
both the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can go to him and be like, "Hey man, this ain't working," or like, "This is what needs to happen," and he can give me some advice, and vice versa. So what gem did someone give you to say, "Hey, let's try this or try that"? Has it always been family, or did you use some consultants or people on the outside that maybe to give you some perspective that you all may not have had?
Yes, I mean a lot of um, different groups I have been involved in have been helpful. I've been, I was in YPO, so I would see early on. I got in YPO probably when I was in my early 30s, right? So, but I would see how some of the white family businesses were doing it, and I tell you, um, we did it pretty good. And then I also saw the dysfunction in relationships and families,
Yeah.
right? And the little things we had are peanuts compared to things I've seen with family business. So I'm thankful and grateful for that. On the other hand, it's a fine line in this transition, and a lot of it's timing. So we've been blessed that everything has worked out, and there's been no unexpected situations with our health. Everybody's in relatively good health in G2. Um, and we just are in a transition stage right now, because the last transition we had was in the 90s. That's when my father was in his 60s, and he knew that we needed to transition. Egbert Perry he was really had decided he wanted to go out on his own, and we we worked through that. We made some mistakes in some things we did, but we were able to get through it. So but a lot of it has to do that we are very conservative, so we never got over our heels. We never kind of overextended ourselves financially, and a lot of reasons that we didn't use private equity was control. And I'll tell y'all a story. When Magic Johnson had his fund, I don't know, he came out with this group.
Yeah, I remember it very well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was 2005, 4, right before the crash. And I remember we were on a call, and my father was on that call. We got off the call and we debriefed. He says, "I ain't fooling with this." Blank, blank, blank. Right. Because they wanted control.
Yeah,
And they wanted
absolutely.
like, this is what you're gonna do. You can't do another development. And it turned them off.
And for reference, for people who may not know, is when Magic Johnson liquidated his 24-hour fitness franchises. And so he had access to capital along with what he was doing with the group that they bought the Dodgers with.
Right.
And they were going around the country to black businesses and saying, hey, we can inject, but when we inject, we get control.
Right.
And so to hear that he was a part of one of those calls, that's stuff that I studied.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was stuff that I studied.
So to give you Breon's background,
Yes.
Breon manages money
Oh
professionally.
yeah, I'm a finance.
So he's managed over $5 billion in books of business for some of the largest families, including families that run some of the larger sports teams and things like that.
Right.
The interesting thing about your story is, I wonder now, hearing Russ on the stage, what lessons now do you leave this event and go, either you were on book, or maybe you should tweak that story when you're talking to Russ, who's your son.
Well, in order to do what we want to do in real estate, we have to look at outside capital.
Yeah.
It's in the billions.
Yeah.
Right. And we have wealth, we have land, but not at the level that we can leverage it to. Because, we're around billionaires.
Yeah.
So we're going through that right now. And, I have to, in the role I have to really bring certain people along as we're going, right? Right now I kind of talked about this opportunity with the churches and all of that. That's real.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's real. And we're into it right now with one of the black nonprofit institutions. And I've been spending the last 2 years trying to say, okay, I have to think like one thing that Rice has provided me is the ability to kind of think as a nonprofit as a for-profit, if I'm making sense.
Makes complete sense.
While a nonprofit, to think like a for-profit is really kind of what they think, but a nonprofit can, and who does it well are these big universities. They use ground leases. That's really how it came up. They use ground leases, and then they endow things through the ground lease, through 100-year ground leases. And then they can it becomes an endowment through their land, but you got to give up some control in that. So,
but not near as much as the private capital.
Correct.
Yeah, not near as much.
Because you do the ground leases.
Absolutely.
So I don't know how all this is going to play out, but I do think there's a pathway because nothing's happening.
No.
So the worst thing to do is we're at a stage where we're not taking advantage of the opportunity. And we're there. I mean, something happened recently because there's a piece of land that came available right across the street right here. And I started looking at it, and that has triggered a lot of other things. So a lot of it's by being, kind of, and I knew I would need private equity. So I started making some calls, and those calls led to other calls. So you have to think that you can do it, because if you don't believe you can do it, it's not going to happen.
Absolutely.
We kind of talked about that area, so it's interesting. I mean, we literally are at the early stages.
That's so inspiring, because you would think getting to where you've gotten to, And from what I hear and the excitement I see in your face, it's like you're just getting started. You know what I mean? And to see that passion to grow something, even when you feel like maybe you're at, a level, because people, are hoping and wishing in a lifetime to get to where your family has gotten to. So to know that the game is really just beginning and there's so many more levels, that's really what Black Men Buy Houses has been about. It's like, start here, but know that there's a runway to go to. And that's so inspiring just to hear even the passion that you have for whatever the next step looks.
Yeah.
So, any closing thoughts for the podcast audience?
No, again, I think that you have to have a vision and you have to show up, and every conversation may be a nugget. So don't underestimate any human being.
Yeah, 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 definitely. So again, we really appreciate you allowing us, one, to be in the space, two, to have the conversation with you. Kevin, go ahead and close us out as the founder of Black Men Buy Houses.
So it's hard to follow. So many amazing gems were dropped today, and we look forward to being back in Atlanta. We look forward to being back at the Russell Center, if you'll have us. And so many conversations have been sparked today. And we just hope that one of those nuggets that come out of today can spark a man to take the next steps in his wealth building journey, to change that paradigm for his family, to start that process of building generational wealth, so that now when we're having these conversations, we are talking about the impact of that second, third, fourth generation. And not just in one family, but also in our communities, in our cities, and changing the paradigm in this country around Black wealth and Black ownership across the board.
Yeah. All right. This is Breon. Jerome. Look, hold on.
No.
Multiple. Hold on. I want to make sure we get all of it right. So I'm gonna let you sign it out because we've had 3 different ways, iteration. I don't want to mess it up, so we'll let you sign out real quick, please.
All right. Well, hey, glad to be here. This is Jerome Russell, and I'm thankful for the opportunity that's been presented to us today. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you all so much. We're out. Thank you.
That's beautiful.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Amazing
Thank you for giving us some more time.
Oh,
Thank you.
no problem.
Thank
So, yeah, this is a good day.